Hello and welcome to Penelope's Chinwag. I'm going to show you what I've been crafting this week. I'm going to read you some more of my story, 1964, and I'm leaving school. I'm 15 in the August, and that's when I could leave school. In the October, it changed to age 16 to leave school in Britain, but I scraped in by the skin of my teeth, shall we say. But, and there's a little film at the end. It's about some birds this week in the garden making a nest. But before all of that, I wanted to welcome you all, new viewers, new subscribers, and my regulars. Thank you so much. The comments touch my heart. She's off again. That's how family's saying, and I have been. I've really felt heart-warmed. Is that the word? By your comments. Reassured. That's it, reassured. Oh, you know what I mean. Anyway, I wanted to, before we are starting now, aren't we? Should we just go straight into it this week? Before I get into the crafting bit, I wanted to talk about procrastination. Putting things off. Why do we do it? And there's a few helpful hints I've found because, of course, I had my mum's suitcase. It's 2 years and I had it in my bathroom for all that time. I need to open it, but I kept putting it off. What could I have done to help me? I could have delegated. Actually, I did. I asked several friends, would you help me go through the suitcase? And it never actually happened. Maybe I didn't want it to happen. Had I got the suitcase down and said, I'm going to open it, will you go through it with me? But, oh, yes, they said, but it never happened. So maybe it wasn't quite the right time. But that's what we can do if we feel we're procrastinating, isn't it? We can ask for help. We can delegate. Some friends, some special friends, you'll know who, if it's something you need to do. But I thought that was a good one. We don't have to shoulder it on our own. Ask for help. The next one was slice it up. Sometimes we don't want to start a new project or, in my case, open the suitcase because of the size of the task. For me, it was quite an emotional task and it seemed quite daunting. But we might have a project that we need to do that's just it overwhelms us. It's just too big. And so why not slice the large task into smaller ones? Yeah, make it, into a pie shape and take a slice at a time. Start with the smaller task because then we can pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, I've done that. And that spurs us on, I think. If we start with one of the bigger ones, we might give up. So slice the task into smaller pieces and start with something you can do. And you can tick that off. And gradually you'll get there rather than not starting it at all. One of the things it says is plan for interruptions. I thought that was quite a good one because often we say, no, I've set the day aside, I'm going to do it. But in our life, there's always interruptions, isn't there? This will happen or that will happen. And will that put us off? Will we completely say, no, I can't do it anymore? So what we need to do is, let me see what it says here. Plan for interruptions. Allow time daily for unplanned developments. And when these arise, you can take care of them, knowing that you've allowed the time for them. Otherwise, you might say, no, this is the dedicated time and nothing can occur. But of course, something always does occur. So factor that in when we're thinking about achieving the task. Don't get it down to the wire of the time it might take. Reward. When you do your scheduling, you should plan for intense or concentrated performance for about 90 minutes. So quite honestly, an hour and a half is enough. And then reward yourself. Maybe you go for a walk, have a coffee, sit down, you know, if the weather's inclement. I don't know, do whatever you do. Watch a bit of YouTube, watch a bit of TV, pause, stretch, take a breath and give yourself a break and then start again. And that might help. So schedule in regular breaks. They say that procrastination is the thief of all time. Yeah, because it stops us from doing things, doesn't it? It's that feeling. And so if we do those things that I've suggested, and I've taken them on board myself, of course, then we might just get through the task we want to, and that thief will be gone. So let's go over now to what I've been crafting this week. I wanted to show you what I'm going to be doing. Well, what I have done this week is to get this sorted out and assembled. Let me show you. I've got the top, I've got the wadding, and then I've got, for the backing, the strawberry thief. There's quite a lot of blue and red in the quilt itself, and just I had that in my suitcase. As you know, I keep all my fabrics in my suitcase, and it's just the right size. And let me show you. My daughter decided to do the little embroideries, 3 together. So fresh flowers, gardening, and sing a happy song. It's lovely, isn't it? And then she, I think, put a 2-inch strip, and then we've got ice cream, stitching days, a little birdie on a spool, and then family, coming home, and the cherries. Oh, and there's a bee, isn't there? Hugs. Oh, so cute. House. Holidays. And then another strip. He's gorgeous. Sewing machine. And a pile of quilts. So that's the left-hand side, if you see it there. And then a little mouse with teacups. Ladybird. And a rabbit or hare. Wise owl. Pin cushions. Pineapple, little cat, caravan, and cafe, shoes, friends, my 2 girls. Flowers, a good book, and that busy bee again. And then stripped it with 3 different colours, blue, green and grey. And then the red and the pretty pink and green all the way round. Now I'm going to do the simplest of quilting. I'm just going to go in the ditch along the seams. So I'll show you that hopefully next week, because I've got it out, it's all pressed, it's all ready to go. So my knitting, I've been, well, in Britain, it's the World Snooker Championships, and I absolutely love snooker. I know they call it a sport, and I hate sport, as you know. Hockey, oh no, I like watching tennis, so maybe I like watching sport but not actually doing it. But snooker is my absolute, I just love it, and I've watched it all the way through. It's a fortnight, I think, and I can't remember how long, but anyway, it's the final coming up. And so Pete and I have been having quite a good rest really, because we've been watching the snooker. And so I've got some knitting done, and I love the Dahlia cardigan. I really do. It's worked out well. They do a pattern called the Dahlia jumper as well, and I just can't wait to start it, quite frankly. It's for me. I love it. It's so simple. I mean, it's mostly plain knitting, except for a few rows, about 20 rows around the yoke. So for snooker, it's been absolutely super just to watch TV and just knit away. So I'll show you what I've done. I love the wool with it. It just shows you, doesn't it? You need to get the wool, the right wool for the right pattern. Nothing wrong with the pattern, but if the two don't meld together, it just doesn't feel right. And that's what it was with me. Fly Away Home, love the pattern, but I've just got to get the right wool to do it. And I think it needs a really plain wool to show off the little stitch that is on it. So we'll see. You know, I've got a few things lined up, but one thing at a time with me. I just have to do something and more or less get it finished, although I have got something that needs to be finished. I'm on the sleeves, but because I have to concentrate, I've put it to one side. So I'm looking forward, after the snooker's finished and this cardigan's finished, to get that done. I really need to. Anyway, let's stick with the Dahlia cardigan, shall we? Here it is. Oh, look at this neckline. Isn't it pretty? It really is pretty. I love it. It just sets the wool off. You know, this wool has got so many tones to it. Can you see that? It looks like my stitches aren't even on camera. I'm hoping they are. I think they are. But it's where you pick, when you knit things top down, you have to pick them up here and leave them here. Whereas when you knit things flat from the bottom up, you don't have to do that. So I do have to be careful that I get the stitches round the right way, doing it from the top. I've done a sleeve. See these rows on camera. In real life, they look all right, but camera shows everything up. I think once it's washed, it'll be fine. So I've done the sleeve. As you can see, the back. So I'm just on the last sleeve here. And hopefully that'll be done. Let me stand up and show you. I've done the button bands I've done. There's the buttonholes. Let me put it round that way and you can see it. So of course that's all plain knitting except for the top, but the top sets it off. And I think it's, oh, the wool, it's so, yes, it's not like alpaca in the sense that it's smooth and silky. This is just soft and delicious. It's just, you can see, it's going to be one of those pull on, well, a home cardie. that's it. So I've got on well with that. So, oh no, and I'll tell you what else I've done. Oh, only a little bit, here it is. I've started my chicken. You know, I wanted a knit one for my great-granddaughter Mila because she loved it. And I just think it's a way of saying you've got anything on your mind, you know, give him a hug, or her. And I had the wool that I was thinking about doing it in. And then I've had some wool, I'm not joking. I don't have a great load of stash, but I do have this, it's Len Per Linen Rowan. My wool shop was selling it off 20 pence a ball about, must be 10 years ago, honestly. And I'm using it double. I just thought it was chicken colour, and it's so soft and so just lovely, you can see. So I've knitted this. This is the first part of the chicken. I'm hoping it isn't coming up too big, and I'm doing it on a half size smaller needle because you don't want the stuffing to come through. But that's my first part of doing the chicken. So yeah, chicken, want to do the quilt, and I'm going to carry on with my cardi and get the sleeve finished. So that's what I've been crafting this week. I want to give you all a big hug and a big thank you for your comments about my story. Yes, you said, our diaries were the same, just lists of boys' names. Yes, this was all practice for you finding the perfect husband. And it was just so reassuring. And then about the hat, I described it as a mushroom with a little thing on the top and a little peak cap. And a lovely viewer said that it was a design by Mary Quant. You know, it was just, I just treasure your comments. They were really heartfelt and they touched my heart. And so I don't feel quite so bad this week. Things will escalate. They will go, you know, but I think it was the same for most of us. So I'm not going to apologise. It's just how it was, part of growing up. So shall we go over to the next part of the story? Auntie Phyllis, well, that was Diz's mum. She'd been widowed now about, 3 to 4 years. And she wanted one of her bedrooms decorated, and Diz and I volunteered. We used to help her around the house and garden as she was on her own. What help we were defies belief. We spent ages preparing the room, then painting the skirting and ceiling. Instead of wallpaper, we used newspaper and interesting magazine articles. Yeah, we really sifted through all the papers, sifted through magazines, anything interesting. You imagine now that room, it would be like a capsule in time, wouldn't it? We were very proud of the finished result, and I was glad Auntie allowed us free rein. I mean, my mum and dad, of course, would never allow that in our home, but Auntie Phyllis really didn't mind, and that kept Diz and I quiet for quite a few months, I would imagine. I remember painting the ceiling and the skirting board. It was real fun, but especially choosing the magazines and all the newsy bits that we put round the room. It was a Victorian house, semi-detached, 4-bedroom, large rooms, high ceilings. It wasn't a modern small bedroom. It was quite substantial. On the 13th of June, a boy we'd met called Jason took a razor to both mine and Dizzy's hair in that room and gave us a mod crop. Dizzy had quite long hair. Mine was about shoulder length by this time, and he said we had a light bulb hanging down, and he said, would you like your hair cropped? And I said, oh, okay. And that's what he did. He just got this razor blade and cropped it. This was about 1/4 inch all over. My beautiful hair fell to the ground, but I didn't mind a bit. When I arrived home, Mum just looked crestfallen and said, "Oh dear." The deed was done, so she reasoned, why go on about it? We loved it though. And we got a puff from the chemist which sprayed your hair silver, and hey presto, we were transformed. A couple of mods with silver hair. Well, I've got the look now, haven't I? Diz and I made a modern shift dress each. Mine was pink and hers was blue. And we also made ourselves Bermuda shorts. I can't take any credit for this, decorating, cutting hair, making clothes. I think if it was left to me, I would have just been, quite happy at home playing the piano. But Diz was very, what's the word? Inventive? Go ahead? Yeah, she was very different to me, but I just went along with it and it was quite exciting. Anyway, we wore these Bermuda shorts to St. Paul's and when we went over High Beach, Epping Forest. That's in Essex, quite away from where I lived. On a Sunday evening, there was absolutely nothing to do, so we'd walk along Wood Green High Road, window shopping, and the scooter boys would drive up and down. And it was a long high street, just shops, so not open on a Sunday, not like now. I mean, it was just deserted. So the scooter boys would just ride up and down, go to Turnpike Lane, turn round, come back again, and we'd just walk up and down window shopping. Yeah, very nonchalant. But a lot of people did it. These scooter boys would stop for a chat and ask you if you wanted to run out to High Beach. We loved it. I loved the smell of the scooters, the excitement of putting your arms around a boy's waist and having to shout to be able to hear each other's conversation. Saturday, the 18th of July's entry is, didn't see Bob and Colin, Bermudas. Everyone asked about them. Just walked. Mods offered ride. Home 12 o'clock. Accepting a lift didn't mean you had to go out with the boy. It was just fun for the night. My whole last day at school was the 22nd of July. School leaving age was 15 and I was to become 15 in the holidays. So that was it. My school days were over. I remember catching the 29 bus that week, staring out of the window and thinking to myself, I never have to go back there again. What a relief. I felt for the first time a feeling that I didn't have to do anything I didn't want to do again. After all, I could choose who to marry. I could choose my job. But going to school was compulsory, and I realise now I don't like the feeling of being compelled to do something. It's okay if it's my choice, but school never was. A new phase of life was starting, and one I welcomed. On the 26th of July, I met a boy called Martin. Everyone called him Polly. He had a parka, a scooter, and lovely blonde hair. Although in my diary, I compared him to Mick. Do you remember him back in January? Which means I thought he was a bit of a drip. Oh, it's horrid, isn't it? However, he was a kind, gentle sort of person, and I liked him. And over the next 2 weeks, we got to know each other. He told me afterwards that one thing he found extremely attractive about me was my beautiful speaking voice. He'd never heard anyone speak like it before, he said. I've written, unfortunately, it's gone now. But, it may be gone, but it's not forgotten, and it's not too bad. For my 15th birthday treat, the family went up to London to the pictures and saw It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. I can remember laughing so much I nearly fell off my seat. I've seen it many, many times since, but none was ever as good as that first time. The whole cinema was in uproar. Well, I just remember all the seats shaking, it was wonderful. And we do have a family saying from it, because they're looking for treasure that is hidden and they've no idea where it is. And after about a 3-hour-long film, this lady is sitting there exhausted, one of the, team that are looking for it. And she sees these trees, these palm trees. 2 are slightly fallen over, and they're like that. And she looks, and she's been told that the treasure is under a big W. A big W. And of course, she's sitting there dabbing her head, and she looks, and she can see that underneath those 4 trees is where the treasure that everybody's going mad to look for is. It's under the big W. And so that's one of our family sayings if we're ever looking for something and we can't find it. And I've figured it several different ways. That's another one. There's lots of sayings from that film. It was a momentous film that I will never forget. And if you ever have a chance to watch it, please do. Maybe it's dated. This is 1964, but I don't think so. The laughs in it are so funny. Well, we'll leave it there for this week. Going through the suitcase of Mum's, that was all the photographs. I found a few that are of the time that I've been reading about. And there's me at the beach on Mevagissey, when we were recuperating and listening to Pick of the Pops on the harbour. There was nothing else to listen to then. I mean, the radio, they didn't play, pop music or anything like that. And that's when the radio stations, they went offshore, Radio Caroline, Radio London, all of that. We couldn't listen to pop music. Well, music blares out everywhere now, doesn't it? But we used to have, on a Sunday, Pick of the Pops. And that's what we used to listen to, as I was saying, at the harbour. A couple of weeks ago, I think I read that. We recuperated. And so this photo is from then. It's got a date on the back. 1964. That's good. It's a colour one. Another one of me. My dad took that in the garden just after, I'd had the hair cropped and cut. There's another one Dad took. I think he developed these as well because they're black and white. And then one, do you remember when I said I was Anne's bridesmaid? And I'd been bridesmaid before and it hadn't worked out. Mum made the dress in a hurry, I think, and it wasn't to my taste. And then I was bridesmaid for my Aunt Anne. I was 11. And I've got it on the top. I just absolutely loved every single thing about the day. And I found the photograph of me. Here it is. So what 11-year-old wouldn't love that? So moving on to the film this week, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit up and downy, but just a quick bit of the garden because it's all in bloom. We've got all the bluebells out and, well, it's just lovely at the minute. All the leaves are on the trees and we've got the horses at the bottom, in the field at the bottom. And then if you look up at the top of one of our big conifers, the magpies have made a nest and they are darling magpies. They've really struggled. Well, I think it obviously must be the man. I don't know why I say that. Is that the opposite of misogynistic? But anyway, he hasn't quite got it, you know. She just brings along the little bits of twigs. Of course, it might be the other way round. But one of them, let's say, brings the wrong size twig and spends absolutely ages, but the determination to make it fit, it just caught my eye as I was looking out the window. So I hope you enjoy that. They're now flying backwards and forwards, and maybe we'll get some babies. But the kestrel was hovering above this morning, so who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. So I say cheerio, see you soon, and thanks for joining me. Have a good week and enjoy the film. Bye-bye.